Start streaming. There we go. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the studio this evening. Here we are. So tonight, as promised, in last week's, the end of last week's show, or the middle of last week's show, I said we would paint some succulents. I've got them drawn out here. Let me go over what I'm going to be using before I get going. This is of course, my Pro Art watercolor pad, 12 by 16 inches, 140 pound. It is wood pulp paper, not cotton rag paper. So I've got a few issues with that we're going to deal with. Whoa, I just hit thing. Here are 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 succulents that I have drawn out this evening. In order to paint these 4, I'm going to be using some brushes that I bought online. These are Rubloff brushes. They are from Russia. They are Kolinsky Sable brushes, and I very much like these. If you have any interest in these, I did a quick review on them. You can find them, on the video list. The one thing I don't like about these is the wood is unfinished and they feel a bit odd in your hand. But the bristles, the water retention, everything fantastic on those. I'm going to be using this palette, which is my Shy's Art Winged palette. If you like this, you can go to Shy's Art and take a look at them. They sell them over there. This is a fantastic palette. It folds out, easy to hold. You can grip it on the bottom. Got giant wells for mixing anything you want. I'm going to set this over here on the side. And I'm going to turn on the paint cam so you can see it. Is it there? There it is. So that should be, let me see, just about there. I think you'll be able to see it really well. Let's see, anything else we need to cover before we get started? I've got water up there. If you see me reach up there, my paints are over here. There they are. And, the one thing is that I was unable to print out pictures of these succulents that I have. I drew these from just pictures I found on the internet. After this video is done and is posted, I'll try to go back and insert those pictures into the video so that you can scroll back. You can go back to it and scroll back and forth and see what the pictures look like. And with that, I think I'm going to get started. I'm just going to pull a picture up over here. The first one I'm going to start with, and I'm going to start up here. Just let me find that picture pretty quickly. I've got it right up there. And I should say the last few videos I've been doing, I've used a different palette than Shy's palette. I've got my color card here so I know what they are. I'm using this palette because my other palette that is limited like this, I have different greens in. I have cobalt green in both of them, but in this one I have phthalo green, which is a fantastic, bright, strong green, as well as the Viridian. And with the phthalo green, I can mix it with a number of these yellows or the sepia brown to make a bunch of different shades of green. So I'm going to get started, and let's see if anybody has any questions. Just throw them up there in the chat. I'm here alone. I'll look over to the side and try to catch them. Hello, Deborah. Welcome to the studio. And with this, I'm going to get going. I'm going to grab a little bit of my cobalt green, which cobalt green alone I think is a very good color for succulents. Here we go. And I'm not on purpose, I'm not going to paint everything all at once this time. I want to do a little bit more individual work on these because I'm going to do a little bit more of wet in wet. I'm going to grab a little bit of Payne's Gray and a little bit of my Cobalt Green. It's going to darken it down just a little bit, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of a low light over here. Grab that like that, and I'm just going to keep mixing my colors here. I'll mix a little phthalo green in here and a little bit of a darker color. And the challenge here, I should probably do this with my board down, but my challenge here is to keep control of the water level so that I don't get too much water on here and it starts running all over the place, but still maintaining enough water and enough paint on my brush in order to get some good color down on the page. Something like that. And if you wanted to, you could wipe away a little bit of that right where our highlight is. We are gonna come back and paint over most of these again, so if we don't get it right on the first one, we're gonna have plenty of opportunity to do a bit more. There we go. I'm using this brush today instead of the mop brushes that I normally use, just because, I mean, not for any real great reason, but just because I'm trying to do a little bit more detailed work in here. I can use this more like a pencil or a pen if I wanted to, and I just feel a little bit more comfortable with the finer, a little bit more detailed work with this brush than I do with that big. It's not even really big, but with the mop brush. Anyways. There we go. We got two done there. I'm going to put a little bit of brown up here along with a little bit of yellow ochre and maybe a little bit of this azo green. I hope you guys can see. Get my hand out of the way. I really like this azo green. I think that different companies call it different things. I think that's the one that Daniel Smith calls green gold. I think it's the same pigment, and it really is a pretty nice color. I don't have, well, I was going to say I don't have any Daniel Smith paints, but you know what, that's not true. I do have a couple. Not very many. I have Holbein, I have M. Graham, I have Winsor Newton. What else do I have? I think I've got a couple of Koi paints. I don't particularly use them. I do have a set of Prang paints. That's kind of fun. I've got a couple Senneliers. I've got a couple of, who else do I have? I don't know. I've got plenty of paints. I'm not sure where I was going with this whole conversation. I've got lots of paints anyways. Oh, Daniel Smith. But not too many Daniel Smiths. I don't have very many Daniel Smith paints. Ooh. That was strong. That was almost straight out of there. You know what? I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to paint maybe a couple of these. Petals or leaves. Oh, somebody tell me. The petals, these green ends, I'm just going to say it this way for right now. The green ends on the aloe. Are those petals like they would be petals on a flower, or are they leaves as though they would be leaves on a tree? I know they're green, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're any one or the other. I can't quite figure it out. If anybody knows, throw that out there. I would love to hear what you have to say about that. I don't have the answer, but I'd be really curious if somebody did. Let's see, that goes something like that. I should say one of the reasons I'm using this set, one of the other reasons I'm using this set is because I have this turquoise blue in here. And this turquoise blue is such a nice color. It's a fantastic color. I put it in this set because I was going to try to find a way to use it. And I haven't found a really great way to use it until maybe now, because I did a couple of paintings this morning. If you saw, well, maybe I only posted one, but I did a couple this morning and posted at least one of them on Instagram. And when I was doing that, I used a bit of this turquoise that I had put in here, and I was like, man, this is such a great color. Why don't I use this more? And so I'm doing it now. I'm using it more. Leaves, thank you, Deborah. These are leaves and not petals. Good. I've always been curious. From this moment forward, I'm going to be calling these leaves. There we go. Let's get this. Now, a lot of times I'll do this, and I'll bet if anybody's beginner, they do a lot of this also. I will put some paint on, trying to paint in a small area, and you get your paint in there, and you've come up just short of the area you want to paint, and you go to paint the next area and you paint just short around the edge of that one, and before you know it, you've got a bunch of white splotches in and around your painting, and when you're done, it kind of looks like it's snowed in certain areas of your painting. I'm trying to break that habit. Well, I'm trying to break that habit by painting over everything at once, and then going back and using that initial wash that you put on as a way to make sure I don't have any really white bright spots on there. With this painting, with these, I thought I could get away with doing little bits and pieces here and there, and if I just go over those areas ever so slightly, then there won't be any white left over. I need something stronger than this. Come on, mix up a little bit, something stronger. There we go. All right, and I gotta do a little bit here, a little bit here. In the middle, it doesn't matter, something like that, and we're going to come back and fix all of this up. All of a sudden it looks a bit like a mess, but you can begin to see how these are taking shape. Oh, let's see, what else? Oh man, did I do this already? I see I've gotten some paint. Maybe I used a clean piece of paper. I've already got some paint on there. All right, so I'm going to leave this one set and dry. Now this one down here is much more yellow, yellow green, so we've got to alter our mix a little bit, and I'm going to do that with some of this gamboge, which is here, and I hope you can see the gamboge. Let me tip that up a little bit. There, you can probably see it there a little bit better, and a little bit of our phthalo green. If I need to darken it down just a little bit, I can drop a little bit of neutral tint in it, or I can go with some of this azo green. Will give me a nice color on there. So I'm going to do this. I've got a nice bit to work with now. Oh, and let me take a look to see what I got here. You know what? I'm gonna revert to what I was doing before. I'm gonna paint a few of these, and I'm gonna do this because with this one up here, it was a little bit runny when I tried to go in and put a little bit of the shadow in there, and I don't want that to happen with this. Hello, 686-2211. How are you doing this evening? So I'm just going to go along like this, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra yellow up here. In the end, I'm hoping that's going to give me some nice highlights, and that's going to run down a little bit. You know what I could do? I could really kind of get tricky with these a little bit. If I don't do too much, I can put a little bit of red on the sides of some of these. You know, you've seen succulents that have sometimes a little bit of red, just a touch of it on them, right on the outside where they get kissed by the sun. So we drop a little bit in there. That'll make for a nice little bit of a different, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see. I'm going to continue on down with these. There we go, and I'm being very careful to paint around our next one down here. I should say when I start